Well, hey folks, back here in the garage, and just be kind of winding down on the videos here. Now we got the Yeeper all back together. She's running. Plan on just a couple of minor tune-ups tomorrow. Check the brakes, check the linkage, get the timing set with the timing gun, and then let's see, test the clutch linkage, make sure that's all set, and then the brakes, like I said, make sure all the fluids are topped off and try to take her on a test drive. So that's where she sits out today. I was out here just getting a few minor things all cleaned up and getting organized so I could get everything back and labeled accordingly, and then get it back in a box so everybody knows what's been replaced on this. You know, if they choose to purchase it, or if the owner decides to keep all the original parts that came off of it. So one of the things I like to do is when I'm done, obviously I keep all the parts when I'm working on the vehicle and keep them all organized, but when I'm completed, I like to take a little bit of a video and show what's been done. Now, this isn't everything. Obviously the shocks were replaced, those went ahead and went out in the dumpster. You know, things like that. Some of the rubber grommets and, you know, some bolts that were just rusted beyond repair, those ended up in the garbage. But the major components, I did want to lay out on the table here out of the box and show you just a real quick walkthrough. It might take a little time. This might be a little longer video, so I apologize, but I do want to definitely document all this stuff for you all. We'll just start here on this side, and the reason I want to start over here is there's a couple items that I'm going to give back to the owner in the box, and I'm going to label them because you can't buy them anymore. And definitely if someone wants to try to redo that front end, and what I'm talking about is the seals for the steering knuckles behind the kingpins there on the front axle. Those are the original aluminum style, and you know, most of the time when you take these apart, you destroy them, but it's got both halves there and the little rubber seal, and those are the originals, so I'm going to keep those and label those accordingly. Obviously, we replaced those little 2x2 wood blocks that were on the hood. You can see them right up there. We got brand new American maple on there. Oil filter, used the Wix 51006. Had to get a new alternator, single wire AC Delco. I'm not sure what the number is, but it's just a standard, like, I don't know, $40 one. You trade it in, you basically get the thing for almost free. So anyway, had to replace the alternator there. Got that in, as you know. Clutch pressure plate, did not replace, but the friction disc we did. And then the alternator bracket, that jerry rig thing that they had in there, went ahead and got the appropriate alternator bracket, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Actually, I showed you in the previous video, but I'll show you again here in a second. Ring and pinion rear, Dana 20, all the bearings, the bolts, the ring, the pinion, the outer and inner, as well as the carrier bearings. Did not replace the spider gears, so if someone chooses to go back in there and redo the spider gears in the rear end, you know, tear it apart. The shim pack is perfect. Backlash and pinion depth is set. The wear pattern is absolutely flawless. It's right in the middle. Replaced the U-joints, as you know. That's most of the other U-joints ended up in the garbage. Throw-out bearing for the clutch. That's the old one, new one in there. Tie rod ends. All brand new. Radiator cap. You know, I didn't check. The other one's a 4-pound, but this one doesn't have a number on it, but that looks like it's the other original one, and it's absolutely shot. So anyway, all the engine bearings were replaced, all the rings, and fuel pump repair. I did rebuild the original fuel pump, which is here. However, as you know in the previous videos, it wasn't, something was going on with the with these little one-way valves up in here. So got a new fuel pump, slapped that in. The thing, you know, as you saw, it ran. I think it's video number 30, 33, 34, 35, something like that. It's actually running. So, and that was right after putting in the fuel pump. So there we go with that. Let's see what else. Oh, head bolts and the nuts were all replaced with new. Exhaust manifold, nuts and studs. Gauges, the majority of them, these are original with the exception, oh no, they are the original. But I think that was an aftermarket temperature gauge. And so that was replaced with a new one. So got a new fuel gauge, a new ammeter, new oil pressure. The speedometer is the only thing that's original. But I'll retain all these original gauges if somebody wants to rebuild them or repackage them or what have you and keep it. Here's the old coil that came out, and as you know, it was converted to 12 volt. Here's 6-volt coil. It does have, you know, no external resistor required, so it's got an internal resistor, but for whatever reason, they changed everything to 12 volt, the bulbs, the alternator, everything, but didn't change out the coil. I don't know. The light switch, the key switch that they had was a 4-post, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But anyway, that's been replaced, as well as the foot starter switch, and the reason for that is the you know, that old cardboard stuff that's in between them was just chewed up beyond repair and definitely didn't want to have a short. So replaced that. The lower crankshaft timing gear, you can see how that's all chewed up. The top one was in perfect condition, so replaced that and the chain. The front seals, locks, lock washers anyway, and the nuts for the axles. Rebuilt the master cylinder, and so far that's okay. We did have a little bit of a leak, but I adjusted where that was leaking. It was basically I didn't tighten up one of the fittings. Sorry about that, but hopefully that'll do. Transmission seals. Here's kept one of the ones. Those are real fun to get apart or get out. All of the leaf spring shackles were replaced, and I did put the left-hand threaded ones back where they're appropriate on the vehicle, as well as got a new 12-volt fuel tank sending unit. This looks like it's the original one, but there you go. Transmission mounts, both that one and this one, and the rubber as well. It's got all brand new brake pads, brake lines. I forget which axle. I could not rebuild the master or the wheel cylinders, so the front, I'm sorry. Front has new wheel cylinders for the brakes. Rear, we were able to rebuild, so rebuilt the carb. Here's the carb rebuild kit and all the tools and leftover stuff that came out of there in the original float. Distributor cap, there was talking about in the previous videos, the condenser. I don't know if that was converted to 12 volt, but now it does. Has a new rotor. Spark plug wires are on the vehicle, so. And then that little homemade breaker thing that they had, breaker, I don't know, fuse block that they had just kind of glued up to the driver's fender, got that replaced. And then here is the only thing that we cut out of the tub. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the hat channels and disregard this, I'm sorry, that's the exhaust mount. So we did replace the exhaust hangers. But since this is the original tub, did not want to go crazy on cutting a bunch of stuff apart, just at this level of restoration. So only cut out what we needed and only repaired as much as we could get to keep it all original. So the only hat channel that we cut out was underneath the tool, basically from this side of the quarter panel under the toolbox over to where it kind of connects to the front, side, and middle hat channels. And then obviously the rusted out, you can almost see through that, it's like Swiss cheese, but the 18 gauge steel there. So it's got new under there, and you've seen that in the previous videos. So there was no wood, and obviously that was one of the structural integrity components, so we had to make sure that we, you know, when we put that hat channel back in, that's supporting the entire passenger seat under that toolbox. So it was pretty critical we fixed that one area. And let's see what else. Okay, here's the old wiring harness. I think this kind of put this in a box and write on it a question mark, and then just put it in there like a gag gift with the leftover parts, because ha ha ha, there's your wiring. Foot switch for the high-low beam. And in here is also, we replaced all of the tub mounts. So all of the little rubber that go between the tub and the frame, as well as all of the bolts. So every single one of the bolts that replaced, as you see here, and all of them. I think there's I believe 12 attaching points just on the frame and the tub, and then you've got the front fenders, and then obviously the hood and all of that. So new thumb screw for the windshield, new passenger mirror bracket, the original parking brake as well as the parking brake drum was retained. It looked like it was in good condition. There was plenty of meat left on that parking brake, on the parking brake wear surfaces. Much more that were on these. These are almost down to the rivets. So went ahead and retained those and reused. Cleaned it up, obviously. So there you go. There's also, you know, a box over here with a bunch of just extra stuff, like multiples of what's laid out over here on the table. So, you know, you got your brake disc, your friction discs, you got the remainder of the engine bearings and the stuff like that, and then, you know, a couple of bolts and head bolts and stuff like that. But the rest of that stuff is over here, and I just pulled out like one or two things just to show you what's been replaced on the vehicle. It doesn't look like much, but there's not a whole lot to these vehicles. So it's just been, you know, going on since what, July, the end of July 21. So it's been a good 6-month project here. And then to get it back to where it was here, to this stage. And the last things that I need to do are obviously take it on a road test, and then I need to put the welting up here, as well as the little strip that goes on the hood. I need to primer the underneath lip on the hood here. I need to get the transmission mount or guard plate onto the mount. And then after that, I am Ricky-Ticky done. Do want to share a couple of things. Those of you that you know, work in your garage or what have you, if you're a home mechanic kind of like me, I've had some tools handed down through my family for several, I'd say 3 generations now. And I do want to say that if you come across any of these wrenches like that, that kind of look like they're old, and go ahead and pick them up. These little things are about 4 inches long, 7/16, half, made in the USA, okay? These are indispensable. There's never been a place where these little wrenches can't reach. I'm exaggerating there, but these come in very, very handy. So if you ever had a garage sale or something like that and you see old wrenches laying around, pick these up, because there's a mechanic in your family or somebody that likes to tinker around are definitely going to want these. Nowadays, you go get chrome vanadium or, you know, Harbor Freight stuff. It'll last you maybe a project. I've had these since I was a little kid, and they were handed down from my dad, who got them from my grandpa. So they're probably made, I would say they're probably from the 20s or 30s or somewhere around in there. But I have a bunch of these little things. I don't have any metric ones. But again, if you're ever out there, your garage sale, estate sale, or whatever, pick some of these up, because, you know, people might want a quarter for like a whole handful of them, and they think they're not worth anything. But in use and in long-term retainage, I don't know what this metal is, but it is, I mean, that is some good hard steel. You're not going to have them, you know, warp or chip or lose any kind of, you know, appropriate width. So really recommend that. Let's see. That's pretty much it. She's wrapped up. I'm going to go ahead and label all of the little boxes and baggies and stuff like that I've got on the table back there. Get it up in a tote. It'll probably all fit into something about that size, with the exception of these cushions and the rear seat thing that was in there. But I'll get that all packaged up. Once we do the test drive, it's time to go back to the owner and and then you can talk to him. I'll see if he can put his contact information out for you all if anybody's interested in come looking at this Jeep, or if they're interested in purchasing it. Go ahead and get a hold of him. And if you have any questions for me, obviously you've been through the entire process with me, and we've learned together. And anything that I've had any questions on, I appreciate everybody out there that just send me a private email, or you put a comment on the videos and help me out there. I really appreciate it. And definitely hats off to the Jeep community, and hats off to Old Willie's Forum, CJ2A page. I want to thank Willie's America. I believe it's in San Ramon or Santa Rosa, California. I want to thank Kaiser Willie for the few things that I bought from them. I want to thank Willie's Jeeps Parts out of Yuma, Arizona. Outstanding. Thank you so much, guys, for all the help. And last but not least, nobody can ever do a project on an old Willie's without Walk's four-wheel drive out of Pennsylvania. So, Mr. Walk, thank you so much to you and your family, and all the help and assistance and the parts that you've helped provide us that are out here working on these old Jeeps. We really appreciate it. Hang in there. These things are going to last another generation probably, and our kids and their kids will probably be out talking to your family, and the future generations wanting to know how can we get parts, and appreciate it, y'all. With that, I will thank you, and I'm going to leave it with the American flag on this Willie's tailgate. And next thing you're going to see is the test ride. And after that, we'll wrap this video series up. And it's been a long road and a long journey, but I appreciate everybody that's watched. And we'll see what else we can get pulled in this old garage, and see if we can't tinker around a little bit next year, or maybe in this summer. So take care, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and do something outside. Take care. Bye.